This presentation is called Live and Let Live, and it is subtitled Pain is Inevitable and Suffering is Optional. How to Stop the Pain of Life, guys. This is actually a book written by Dr. James Richards, which I have just read again recently, and I just thought it's so brilliant. It's such a good tool. And if any of you like to read and want to pursue this a bit deeper, I can highly recommend this book. Okay, it's actually a must read. I said so. All right. Okay, so this morning, funnily enough, I was looking at my LinkedIn things, and there was a very nice and appropriate message saying life is 10% of what happens to you and 90% of how you react to it, by Rakshit Marvin. All right, and it's actually very true. You know, I am 51 now, and I can actually vouch that that is very much how life works out. Most of your life consists of how you actually engage with it, not with what actually happens. Okay. So, and that is all about the heart. And before you start thinking that I'm going to be mushy and all that, no, I'm not. Guys, don't switch off. Yeah. When I'm talking about your heart, I'm actually talking about your self-esteem, your confidence, your values, your opinions, and all those kind of things. All right. It's not your brain. It's not your intellect. It's your heart. You'll see what I mean. So basically, our belief system that we have of who we are and what the world is established before we are 5, maximally 12 years old. Most of it's established by the time we're 5. That means we are children. We are in the alpha state. We do not reason with our intellect. We just have a whole lot of things happening to us, and we just suck them up like a sponge. And that means that generally, by the time we're 12, we all have a very faulty belief system because nothing has been logically processed. Okay, it's just something happens, and we add an emotion to it, and boom, there it is. It's how we experienced it, and it's an incredibly self-centered approach. We all know that when we are born, we are the most self-centered creatures on earth. We believe the world and the universe revolves around us, because every time we make a little noise, somebody comes to feed us, change our nappies, laugh at us, giggle, whatever. Yeah. So that's how it starts. And that actually sets us up for having a bit of a rough ride later in life. Okay. So our life is a garden. Okay. Imagine it's a garden. And the things that we hear, that we ponder, that we focus on, that we think about, those things produce a crop, our harvest. Okay, so be very careful how you hear things, because if you hear them wrong, you're going to have a nasty crop full of insects and things. Yes, the soil of our garden is the paradigms, the opinions, the mindsets that we have. They actually dictate our life, because all our decisions are made based on our belief system, and that actually makes for a gatekeeper in our brain. And that gatekeeper is literally a filter that will only allow things through for us to be cognitively aware of that line up with our opinions and our paradigms. Anything that contradicts what we believe gets kept out. So we're a bit stuck in our opinions, right? So now the heart is an abode of deep beliefs. It's directly linked to our sense of self, and it determines our view of absolutely everything around us and ourselves. And changes at the most fundamental level will produce changes throughout every aspect of your life. That means for all those of you who've tried to change stuff in your life that's external to you and struggled, it's because you actually need to change something in your heart belief system, right? So on a micro level, and that has a domino effect. Like an avalanche, it just snowballs. Well, if you can change the way you see something, it actually automatically, everything external to you will adapt and align with it. Okay, so think about somebody who has cancer. That person can now go change the diet, change their lifestyle, and do all kinds of things. Or you can go and into the genetic pool and adjust the genes, and then people can't get cancer anymore. Yeah, change something on the micro level, and the macro level will adapt. Okay, please also know that you are the absolutely only person who's controlling your heart belief system. Nobody can write on your heart except you. You control that. You choose. Okay, so stopping the cycle. Here I'm talking about stopping the cycle of pain, stopping the cycle of suffering and being in torment and being miserable. Okay, basically in life, we've got no control over the constant barrage of offenses. They come at us in our families, in our workplaces, in school, in public, at home. Yeah, life actually does inflict incredible pain. It's a fact. But we do have complete control over the pain's ability to become suffering. All right? We get to choose that. So if you walk into a thorn tree, you're going to get pricked by thorns. That's pain. Now you get to choose. Are you going to pull them out, disinfect, put some ointment on? Or are you just going to leave them in there, let them fester, and then you need antibiotics and surgery and all kinds of things? That's suffering. Okay? What you need to do is to surrender the right to judge. Okay? You really do not know why someone does or says what he or she says or does. The offender is generally oblivious to the fact that you've taken offense, right? Remember, offense is taken, it's not given. Okay? The moment you assume that you know why a person does or says something, you're judging their action or their words, and you are the one who's taking offense. Never ask the why question. Why is asking for a reason, because you want to understand and all that, and it actually is a victim mentality. Keeps you helpless. It also means that you're always reacting. You're always reacting to the situations around you from the gut, emotionally, and that's always very self-destructive and destroys the relationships around you and causes a whole lot of chaos. So the critical factor for us is, what do we think about? The most important thing in life is to decide what's most important to you individually. Okay, and that varies. It also varies for us individually over different phases of our lives. So every moment of every day, we give our thought and time to something. Okay, but is it really important? You need to ask yourself, whatever you're busy with, is that actually important for me? So is what I'm paying attention to advancing me? Is it making me happy? Is it helping me make good decisions? Right? That's called living in priority. You need to prioritize things in your life. Please stop wasting your time. I've spent a lot of time wasting my time getting drawn into things that are just destructive and negative. Yeah, well, those days are gone. I won't get them back. Okay? So experiencing pain and failure, which we all do, can only be dealt with in one way, all right? Don't fix the fruit, fix the root. So the fruit is the actual fact in front of us, the failed exam or the mess we've made, okay? That's the fruit. Cleaning that up isn't going to achieve anything, because unless we pull things out by the root, we're going to do it again. It's going to happen again. So you need to actually get into your heart and start figuring out why those things are happening. Always go to the root of the problem, not what you can see. Emotional pain becomes the window to the world. It creates an endless cycle. So if we are in emotional pain, everything we look at that's happening around us, we actually see through those pain-filled filters, and they actually distort what we're seeing. If we can be free from pain, the world looks very different, and the experience changes in the absence of distorted thinking. So, point is, let's get past pain, eliminate it, stop creating new pain, and actually have a nice life, a peaceful life, a happy life. What is judgment? I suppose that's a good question, since I said you mustn't judge. So I said already, life is a garden that grows the seeds I plant. Okay, but remember that whatever seed I plant reproduces exponentially. One little milli seed or sunflower seed is going to reproduce with hundreds of seeds. And I will reap what I sow. Okay? And you need to ask yourself, what is growing in your garden? Do you like it? If not, how can you change it? Well, start sowing other seed. Okay, so for example, if you're finding a lot of people are criticizing you all the time, check yourself if maybe you've been very critical in the past. It's coming back to you. Stop being critical. Okay, generosity. I used to be I am still generous, but in the horse riding world, I always had all the kit in the world because I loved that. I was a gadget queen, but I never used it. So when people needed something like brushing boots or overreach boots, friends of mine, I'd give them the set. I just handed it out quite freely. And one day when I was stuck and my one horse had outgrown the saddle beyond fixing, I needed a new saddle and there was no way I could get one. I didn't have the money and I needed about 80,000 Rand at the time to buy that saddle for him. So I had to scratch all the competitions he was entered in and I couldn't ride him, had to lunge him. It was a mess. Client of mine, who I'd never given anything to because she never needed anything, I told her my tale of woe. She said to me, hey, what about if you try Volcano's saddle? I'm thinking like, right, Volcano is a little round, imported Andalusian, and Esplendor, my horse, is a 17 two-hand Namibian warm blood. Completely different shaped, completely different sizes. How is that saddle supposed to fit? It's like putting baby booties onto an adult. But I didn't want to offend her, so I said, yeah, right, okay, thanks. You know what? I took that saddle, and it was a one of a kind in the country, very fancy, fitted the horse and me perfectly. Then I thought, wow, problem solved. I went to her, I said, Annette, please can I pay this off? Can I work it off? Because I don't have money. She said, no, you can have it. That was a nice harvest. So, what's growing in your garden, guys? Okay. Right. Quality of our emotional life is found in the quality of our relationships. Don't think for a moment that you're going to be a complete and happy person as a lone ranger with lots of cars in the garage and big houses. You're not. Yeah. Relationships are the only thing that actually make life worth living. Believe me, it's fact. It's how we're designed. Okay. No lone rangers. Our judgment is influence our relationships more than any other factor. It's not lack of money, it's not lack of time, it's not other stresses. It's how we interpret the other person that actually influences the quality of our relationship. So identifying what somebody did is an observation. Assuming we know why he or she did it is judgment of motivation. And that's where the problem is. People do things. That's fine. Stick with the facts. Don't try and interpret what people do and say, because you're bound to be wrong. Yeah, we do not know why people do or say anything. Usually they don't even know themselves. Why? Because they're just being themselves. They're not actually thinking about you when they're being themselves. They're thinking about being themselves. There's nothing intentional in most of the things that are being said and done. Assumptions about motives are not based on reality. Assumptions are based on your speculation. It's imagination, not fact. The moment you attempt to determine the why, you actually attach significance to what somebody said or did, and nothing actually has power to hurt you until you attach significance. So until you do that, everything is water off a duck's back. But the moment you attach significance, you're going to be soaked to the skin. All right? Passing judgment causes us to react to situations inappropriately. We don't respond, we react. Okay, that's that emotional outburst, that irrational reaction. Yeah, response is when you take some time, think about it, and are all cool about it, and that is usually quite constructive. And what you must know is that people do what they do because it's what they do. They're just being themselves. It's got nothing to do with you. They do the same thing around other people. You just happen to be there. Okay, and the degree of pain that we experience is totally based on our judgment and the significance that we attach to what other people have said and done. Now, breaking the power. Okay, other people's power over your emotions and happiness. Yeah, we are actually creating a world of conflict through judgments we think will protect us, and we call it wisdom. So we've got all these judgments because we think that's going to keep us safe, but actually we are the ones creating conflict because our conclusions are wrong. Our assumptions are wrong. Most offenses have nearly nothing to do with us. People do what they do because of who they are, not because of us. And we think everything is about us, but it's really not. It really isn't. Okay, it's not about me, it's not about you, it's much bigger than that. And offenses come. When they do, don't talk about them and revisit them and discuss them with people and, don't go and vent. Rather, make the offender aware of the effect of their actions on you. What you do is you go to the person and say, Mrs. Prinsloo, You didn't greet me this morning on the corridor, and I actually felt like quite hurt because it made me feel like you don't like me. Okay? So you have now told me how you feel about it, and I'm going to go, oh no, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't even see you. I was thinking about 100 things at once. I really didn't mean to hurt you. Okay? Don't attach significance or judge motive or intent of another person. Okay? In that same scenario, if you had gone and talked to everybody about it, Mrs. Prinsloo didn't greet me. She doesn't like me. No. What a cow. Whatever. By the end of the day, you're going to absolutely hate me and never be able to sit in my class and actually receive instruction from me again. And I don't even know. I've got no clue. Right? So here I am. I didn't know. Sorry. Versus maybe you're too touchy. Maybe you're feeling a bit insecure and need to address that. Okay? Fault can always be with both people or one person, Right. The power of significance. That's attaching significance, right? The significance we attach to something, an event or a word, a scenario, a circumstance, is actually what determines the effect, the long-term effect it's going to have on us. Okay? We measure things by giving them value. It gives them size and significance. It actually has nothing to do with the other person's intention. We're the ones who attach the significance, not them. They just said something in all innocence or not. Okay? Just be very careful. We get something called overt and covert rejection, which we all experience throughout life. And you need to be having it on your radar. Overt rejection is very, very clear, clean cut. It's the obvious one. I don't like you. Okay? Go away. It can be easily processed. It's very obvious. Okay? But the covert rejection is a lot more subtle. It's not in your face. It's more manipulation and things like that. You really do need to put that onto your radar because that can have very long-term damaging effects on you. And unfortunately, it actually happens in most families and workplaces even. Wherever there's more than one person in the room, I guess it can happen. What you'll find, and this is going to the power of significance, is that you'll meet people in life who've had extremely intense experiences that had very little destructive results. They actually bounced back and they're fine. Okay? And then you meet people where an apparently harmless little incident has had devastating results, like had them destroyed. All right? And that is simply because of what significance was attached to the actual event. Alrighty. And please never minimize what's happening in another person's life, because according to their reality and their paradigm and belief system, it can be much bigger for them than it could be to you. Yeah, we're all different. So be compassionate, even if it's a small thing, in your opinion. It's not small to another person. What we need to do is we need to refuse to attach significance. And when someone's actions affect us negatively, we actually just need to ask them, hey, is there a problem? Okay? Normally, there isn't. We need to observe and not judge. All right? Observation is just looking at facts. So through judgment, observation is distorted. We judge because of low self-worth, lack of trust. We're established in our identity and in our value system, and we just process things through that, right? When you're meeting people, observe the fruit, their track record, their reputation, and then also please check your own. People look at you, at what you're doing, much more than they hear the things you say. So you actually want to have a good track record and a good reputation. And if you haven't, you could start now and build one, right? With things like integrity and punctuality and those kind of things. Start with small things and start building it, right? Wisdom is measurable data in relating to people. Okay, we can have good and bad judgments, which actually focus on the other person. So it's not always a negative thing. I can also say, oh no, he didn't mean that, he meant it well, and make excuses for other people. It still focuses everything on the other person. That actually means we can excuse our own actions and our own responsibility in something that happened. Okay? But when we are free from judgment, and that's free from self-judgment, free from judging others, and free from receiving their judgments, then we can actually finally act out of our true nature and simply be ourselves. Okay. Fixing you is killing me. We all know fixers. Parents tend to want to fix us. Okay. It's basically finding fault with people. And finding fault is a product of fear, of low self-worth within yourself, even anger. All right. In the case of parents, it's usually because they are afraid that you're not going to be successful in life if they don't fix us. Okay. But we must know fixing and peace cannot coexist. There's no harmony and rest in that. Okay. It's perceived as nagging. Okay, fixers are not appreciated and always misunderstood. So if you are a fixer, please know right now, nobody's ever going to thank you. So stop it. The best thing I can do for you is to take care of me and of my own problems. Okay, not your problems. I need to focus on what's wrong with me or what could be better with me. Right? We can't change others. We can only change ourselves. And I don't know if any of you have tried changing things about yourself before. It's quite a mission, often without much success. All right? And you definitely will not succeed at changing another person. Change is something we choose for ourselves only. I'm my problem and my own worst enemy. You're not my problem. You're not my enemy. Okay. That's the attitude I need to have, because then I don't have to get defensive either. Right? Then also, when people behave badly around you, try and focus on the need that is making them behave badly and not the fault. So if somebody is always loud and in your face and drawing attention to themselves, know that that person is just looking for a bit of love and recognition. So try giving them that instead of avoiding them, and that doesn't help anyone. Then also know that we become what we behold. I've known many people who said, I'll never be like my mother, my father, or whatever. But because they kept looking at what they hated about those people, they became little clones of them. So whatever you want to be, whoever you want to be, you need to paint that picture in beautiful colors and keep looking at where you want to go. Okay? Because that's then what you will transform into. You're the problem, not me. Blame shifting, guys. If I don't blame you, where does that leave me? Leaves me guilty, leaves me exposed. Okay? That's why we like to do that. And judgment is very characteristic of externalists. Externalists are people that don't look inside themselves. They always look at the outside and focus on things outside of them. Not healthy, guys. We should always take a look inside ourselves if we're in situations and check if maybe we're the ones with the problem. Right? People do it to keep people from scrutinizing them. They put the spotlight onto the other person and then nobody sees them. Okay, keeps them safe. It's a defense mechanism to avoid dealing with your own issues. Okay, when you're dealing with people in conflict, you need to actually give them the truth in a way that doesn't attack self-worth. Please, the worst thing you can do in a heated moment is to attack a person's character. Don't slander them. Don't label them. Don't project your own things onto them. Don't call them names. All right? If you do that, you've already lost the relationship. It takes very, very much work to try and rebuild that. Yeah? Attack the issue, never the person. Deal with the fact. Okay. What's inside of you? Well, basically, we express outwardly what we're experiencing inwardly. All right. It's like David the other day asked me. He said there was a certain trend in the Redewendungen I was writing on the board that week. It was actually expressing my conflict that I was in at the time. I just kept picking the ones that are sort of theme related. Very well done, David, for spotting that. Okay. But otherwise, you didn't know. Right? Externalists are actually afraid of who they'll meet when they look inside. But don't be afraid, because we're all the same inside. We all have some issues and we all have some beautiful things in there. Don't be afraid of who you really are. Okay? The critical eye. How I see you is a reflection of how I see me. Very true, because I process everything out of me, my reality. So I actually don't see you as you. I see you interpreted by me. Yeah. The way we view things is a product of our belief system. Okay, so my opinions determine how I see things. A critical eye is the direct result of a critical heart, because everything comes from my heart. So if I'm a critical person, that means I'm critical in here. And then you need to rewrite that because it's not healthy, right? Hearts are shaped by the way we grow up. I already mentioned that while we're in that alpha state and impressionable, all these things happen around us. And I'm not going to go on a witch hunt blaming parents, because I think all parents are dysfunctional to some degree or another. There are no perfect parents, but that certainly does shape us. Okay, my parents were both very dysfunctional puppies. They both grew up in World War II and had issues that impacted me. Looking back now, I understand exactly that the intention behind it was something totally different, but the way I experienced it made me a very dysfunctional puppy too. Okay, which is why I'm here reading all these books. Anyway, don't ever invade anyone's life, guys. Criticism will always cause denial. If you criticize a person, they'll always become defensive and they'll always point the finger right back at you and accuse you of much worse, right? So drop it. The person, this is fascinating, by the way, the person who influences you the most is not the person you believe in, but the one who believes in you. Okay? You all have models that you look up to, idols, people that you want to be like. Those are actually not the ones that influence you the most. It's the one who believes in you. So start looking around for who actually believes in you and start taking them seriously. Okay? And people will also learn far more from what they see us do than from what they hear from us. Okay? So that's why I say have a good reputation, a good track record. Knowing boundaries are vitally important. I used to think they were a swear word, so I avoided them and had none. It was very bad for me and people around me. And then one day I actually picked up a book, and 10 years later I actually read it. And I discovered boundaries are extremely healthy things to have in place and to protect your own and those of others. Okay? It doesn't mean that you're being offish and selfish. It actually means that you're being kind, because it makes you into a much better contributor to the world that you live in. Okay. So also, if I don't know me, it's impossible for me to know you, right? All of us actually need to know who we are. Otherwise, we won't actually be able to get to know other people. Yeah, boundaries are limits over which nobody should venture. I must know where I stop and where you start. Okay? And sometimes you'll find people invite you in to cross boundaries. Don't do it. Okay? Maintain boundaries always. What we also tend to do, which is quite detrimental, is that we use ourselves as a standard for others. So if I'm a very self-disciplined person, then everybody else must be one. And if they're not like me, then they're inferior, they're less than. Not true, okay? Don't let the importance of your message violate the principles of communication. So I like to resolve conflict quickly. I want to address this thing right now, get it out the way and get on with life. But I'm around a person who likes to take time out, not talk about anything, and just take some space, have some space. If I barge in there and say, no, we're going to deal with this right now, I'm telling that other person that he or she hasn't got any value in my eyes. I'm the important one, and that's why we're doing this my way. I've just seriously dinged the relationship. Okay, so guys, do yourselves a favor, get yourselves acquainted with very good ways of communication. It will help you, even if the people around you don't know them. At least you'll be protected, because you'll know what they're doing and it won't hurt you. Okay, what they're doing wrong. Understanding helps a lot. Yeah, people actually don't reject our communication, but the way we do it. Seriously, people want to communicate. We're born to do it. But if we do it the wrong way, not good. Also, please don't meddle. It's none of your business. Even if something somebody does or says actually affects you or impacts your life, it's still not your business. It's that person's problem. Don't meddle. God of my world. Okay, so if I give you control of my life, I make you God of my life. So if I let my dad or my husband or my boss or anybody control my life, then that person is actually the god of my life, and I'm just some puppet on a string trying to make them happy the whole time. Okay? Please know that control is not an option, ever. It's actually it's equal to manipulation. Manipulation is witchcraft, evil. Okay? Every family tends to have a controller, right? And that person is actually in trouble. It's the person who makes the rules, who sets the standards, who makes the laws, and then has to spend the whole life reinforcing them, ensuring that it's being stuck to and adhered to. And that person has to make all the decisions because he's also totally taken the initiative away from everybody underneath them. He or she. Okay? Right? The personal will system that we have, we use and we want to use to control our environment with. Guys, you can't control your environment. You cannot control anything outside of you. You can only control what's inside of you. Yeah? Remember what I say to you sometimes in class? If I can't change the circumstances, I can change my attitude. Yeah? It starts with me inside. Okay? And the point is that when we're dealing with people, what they need to feel is that we accept them, warts and all. That creates a safe environment. Doesn't mean we have to condone everything they do, not at all. Yeah, but that's what we want as well. I want to be accepted, warts and all. Yeah, if I know that you accept me, then I can receive criticism from you, constructive criticism. I can accept, I can embrace feedback, and that actually empowers change. I can then take it to heart and go, hey, okay, I'll do that. I'll change. Okay. In any situation, every person has their own judgments and reactions going, and that's why relationships break up. Okay, because we are all individuals and everybody's reality is different from everybody else's, because we all have different paradigms, opinions, and worldviews and issues. No two people in a relationship will ever experience something the same way. Yeah, and that's why relationships clash and break up. You need to apply truth to only yourself, nobody around you. Okay, let each person figure it out for themselves. You're responsible for you. How I see it. How I see it is not how it is. It's just how I see it. The person next to me sees it differently. Who's right? We're both right. Because our perceptions are forged by subjective factors. For me, what I see is right. For them, what they see is right. Imagine 3 little boys going to a circus, and they're going to see an elephant for the first time in their lives, and they're all excited, and they're standing behind this tent flap, and there's 3 holes in this, and one runs up to each hole. The one says, oh, an elephant is like a bird. The other one says, no, it's like a snake. The third one says, no, it's like a tree trunk. Why? Well, the one happens to see a leg, the other one the trunk, and the other one the ear. Okay? So unless they're actually prepared to see through each other's holes, they're going to have a problem on describing an elephant in unison, right? Okay? Because it's neither a snake nor a bird nor a tree trunk. It's something totally different. But we see and interpret the world based on how we see ourselves. Okay? So we have filters based on our identity as we see it. That's how we interact with everything around us. And our sense of self-worth is vital, and that sits in our heart. So if I have a negative sense of self-worth and something happens, like my boss doesn't greet me and I have low self-esteem, I'm going to go, yeah, it's because I'm not important. I've just added judgment, and it's just confirmed my heart belief. That wasn't my boss's intention. Okay, that was me. I did that to myself. Yeah, I will see life through my opinions because I'm at the center of the world I've created around me. And so have you. You're at the center of your world, each one of you individually. Yeah? And what we have is something that's called selective processing. We can only see what we've predetermined. Okay, so in other words, like I said about the gatekeeper earlier, whatever aligns with our views and opinions and validates what we believe is allowed through our reticular activating system. Everything else gets kept out. And that's why it's so important that you release your opinions and viewpoints before you can see something differently. That's why I say live and let live. You know, I have gained so much by allowing people the space to voice their opinions freely and actually engaging with them. Doesn't mean they're right and I'm wrong, or I'm right and they're wrong. It just means that I could actually add to my opinion, and sometimes I've even changed my opinions. But in any case, they've always grown. Learn to just listen to people without judgment. Just let them express themselves. You'll see how much you actually gain from that. Don't always be so busy telling your story. Listen to other people's stories. Okay? Right. Identifying behavior patterns. Oh, this is so much fun. People don't do things for my reasons. They have their own. Uh-huh. Okay. So you all know about your learning types. We've done that, and personality types and stuffs. Okay. So we also have 4 basic behavior patterns and then hundreds of sub-patterns. And each one interprets the world and communicates in different ways. And they're motivated by different factors, and they make judgments based on different perceptions. Okay? You don't think like I do, but I think you do. We all think everybody else thinks like we do, and they don't. They really, really, really don't. Okay? And they may all do the same things, but they're usually motivated by completely different reasoning. So the first type is the direct type. That's the bottom line person, gets to the point. This person desires respect, fears to be manipulated, likes their personal space and minimal physical contact, and has a strong force of character. And tongue-in-cheek, I'm going to stereotype and say sounds like a typical German who will shake your hand and who will get straight to the point and not even ask you how you are. Okay? I'm saying that tongue-in-cheek, please. Not all Germans are like that. Right? Inspirational. These are the people that are people persons. They are easily inspired and easily discouraged. They want to be liked. They're looking for social acceptance. They avoid conflict, and they're very touchy-feely. And with that, I mean they like physical contact. They hug, they kiss, and all that. Then you get the steady person. They always remain calm. They're good at calming other people down. They're kind, personable, very indirect, and they avoid conflict like the plague and seek to keep things steady. And then we have the conscientious person. These are very analytical and detail-oriented. These are the self-proclaimed quality control people. They're very diplomatic. They dislike direct conflicts, and they control through quality standards and want everything to be just right. Okay, these are your 4 major categories. Now, have a scenario. Telling a lie. So your direct person will tell a lie to maintain respect. The inspirational person tells the lie to maintain social acceptance. The steady person tells the lie to avoid conflict. And the conscientious person wants to appear to be right. So we never really know what drives another person's behavior, do we? Okay? The problem in conflict resolution is the failure to understand why others do what they do. Don't try and understand, because that's going to lead to conflict. Don't judge. Yeah? Superimpose your reasons and values. That's judgment. That means you've got assumptions. And also it implies that my judgment is correct. I'm right. You're wrong. I'm as right as you are. I'm as wrong as you are. Okay? Except everyone does things for their own reasons, and that actions aren't actually personal or directed at you. They would behave exactly the same way if they were in a different company and you weren't there. All right. Another scenario, telephone call. So personal behavior as a standard of judgment can lead to misunderstandings. Yeah? The direct calls the steady and gets straight to the point, because that's what the direct does to be courteous. But it causes offense because the steady now assumes the direct person dislikes it. In reverse, the steady calls the direct, makes a whole lot of small talk. How are you? And all. The direct person now feels manipulated and gets agitated. Problem. Right? The direct and the inspirational talk in generalities. You're conscientious and steady. They go out of their way for all the details. They will only speak in generalities when they're trying to avoid details. So they think anybody who speaks in generalities is lying. Okay? Problem. The direct people feel totally overrun by too much detail and experience those kind of people as pushy and manipulative. Okay? And another one. You've got an extroverted woman. She's flamboyantly dressed, made up nicely, and she's animatedly talking to a group of men. So what is it? Is she a prostitute? Is she witnessing? Is she flirting? Or is she just being her natural self? I can tell you right now, I'm that woman. And a lot of the time I've been in so much trouble because people have accused me of flirting when I really wasn't. I was just excited about something and being friendly because I am a friendly person. So yeah, that kind of judgment has cost me quite a bit of pain. Right. Assumption. People do things for our reasons. If we assume people do things for our reasons, the reasons we would do them for, conflict is inevitable. Okay? We meet and reject people before we even get to know them. What we do know about them, okay? We don't know them, we know about them, is seldom who they actually are, but it's our judgment of them. Okay? We think we're right, so we're always intolerant of people who behave differently. What we need to do is release people from the judgment so that we can know them for who they really are and value how they are different from us. Never judge a book by its cover. Right, it's not all about me. Surprise. Okay? So we're born with the self-centered perspective and all our paradigms are about us. Okay? We interpret life as if it's all about us. Our self-perception, like I said, is established before we're 5 years old. It's not rational, logical at all. We've got information and emotion, boom, written on our heart. Subjective worldview is established before we realize not everything is about us. Okay? Now, I know we have the terrible twos when we start to realize it's maybe not all about us, but it's too late already. Okay, so we need to actually release the world from our self-centered judgments and upgrade our paradigms. Go on a journey. Okay, relationships should be places of development, but we rarely allow people outside our emotional paradigm in. Birds of a feather flock together. Okay, we need to get out of our comfort zone and interact with different types of people so you can grow. Surround yourself with different behavioral styles, levels of character, cultures, whatever. Yeah? Be open to different people. Attract the same kind, different name. That's what we do. But that means we never have a reality beyond the past experience. We never grow. Okay. If I'm acting like a child, it's because I think like one. Well, that would make sense if my paradigms were established when I was a child, right? Now, my heart is the guidance system for my life. All we do emerges from the beliefs of our heart. Okay? It's the seat of our being. It's a collective consciousness of everything that we are. It's the lens that colors our world. It's the filters through which all data is passed and interpreted, and it determines how we experience reality. Okay? So we can influence our hearts deliberately now that we're no longer in the alpha state all the time. Yeah? It's not an accidental thing without choice anymore. We can use information with emotion and write something new on our heart. Okay? We can delete what's there and replace it with something else. Much of what we believe, I'll tell you now how to do that. That's actually next week's session. Much of what we believe about ourselves is the result of negative and positive experiences that we did not choose or control. Life just happens around us. It's not in our control. And much of what we believe about ourselves is the product and action of highly dysfunctional people. Right? And I'm not trying to insult anybody's parents, and not my own, may they rest in peace, but it's a fact. Okay, everybody is dysfunctional to some degree or other, and hopefully throughout life we become less and less so. Healthy perspectives are not developed because a child is given the right information, but because of how he or she is made to feel. Okay, it's not the information, it's the sense of security and love that we receive as children. So if you're made to feel like you're accepted and safe, you will have healthy perspectives. It doesn't matter how much information a child is given that it doesn't feel accepted. It's just going to cause chaos and make them more dysfunctional than the other one. Okay? So also people should be taught because they are loved, because it's good for them, because it'll help them, not because they are wrong. Okay? Because then it's a correction and it's fixing and it's critical. The alpha state, right? This is when your brain waves are very slow at about 7. That's when the conscious mind loses grip on thought processes, thoughts of the heart emerge, the heart is vulnerable. Okay, that's what you are permanently in until you are about 10, 12 years old. Okay, that's why everything we experience as a child can potentially affect our heart. When we're adults, when we're awake, our brain waves speed up to 14. And that means we are always in the intellectually based state, which is control of our mind, rational being. But as we fall asleep and when we wake up, and a short time after waking up, we actually find ourselves in that alpha state. And that's when we can rewrite on our heart. Also, meditation and prayer can get us back into that state. All right. So that's the time when you will find your wrong belief system and replace it with a better one. Okay. Life in my imaginary world, being God of my own world, is killing me. Right. We are at the center of our universe. We think everything that happens is about us. Everything people do is about us. They're doing it to us. Yeah. Our selfish hearts distort our perception. We've got vain imagination. It's an illusion. It's not even truth. Yeah. These kind of people are afraid to love. They're afraid to be vulnerable, afraid to be taken advantage of, and therefore protect themselves by withholding love and using control and manipulation. If that's who you are, you can rethink. Huh? If the thoughts that brought you to that position had that power over you, you can replace those thoughts with other thoughts, new thoughts, positive thoughts, and you can then rethink and end up in a different destination. People do what they do. Thank you. People do what they do because of what they are experiencing in their own hearts, not because of you. All right? Their actions define who they are, not who you are. So you can actually stay happy. Other people don't define you. They're just expressing who they are. Freedom from the judgment of others. I'm not who you think I am. I'm not who I think I am. I am who I think you think I am. Quite twisted, I know. Okay? We need to become free from the need to prove ourselves. There's no value in receiving input just haphazardly. We need to weigh it very carefully. All right? Don't just go out there trying to prove yourself or trying to make people around you happy and that kind of thing. That totally isn't who you are. That's you trying to live through the eyes of how another person sees you. You've got to be yourself. So don't go and try and prove yourself. Just try and get in touch with yourself. Okay? When people give you input, there's value in it, but you need to weigh it very carefully because they're seeing through you through filters as well. They might have other agendas. Okay? So what they're saying to you might be not motivated right. And then it's not going to be useful for you. Yeah? We'll never learn to live from the heart, which is how we're designed. We're actually supposed to live from the heart, not from the mind. Although in our Western society these days we are very, very intellect orientated, but that's not our original design. Yeah, if we can be controlled by the opinions of others, we are not living from the heart. Okay, we're constantly cats on a hot tin roof, pussyfooting around, trying to do what pleases others. It's not going to happen. You can't make people around you happy. Trust me. You can enhance their happiness, but it's their job to make themselves happy. Yeah, fear of failure is totally based on what others will say. If that's not our priority, we are not going to be able to fail because we don't perceive it as failure. All right? And I'm not saying get this, oh, I don't care what you say attitude. That's not it at all. Don't become hard-assed and stuff like that. It's just like be real, okay? Don't base your life on other people's opinions. Don't let them define you. Yeah? The need for approval always paralyzes our decision-making because every decision we're making trying to make the other person happy and hoping it's what they wanted. You'll never make it. You'll never actually meet the mark. You'll find that those goalposts always seem to be moving and you didn't get the memo. Yeah? So stop it. Perfectionism also, jeepers guys, it's a torment based on fear. Perfectionism is a direct result of trying to please people around you. And that's bad. And like we did in the Optimize Your Learning workshop, perfectionism also completely destroys your ability to be creative and to problem solve and things like that. So be ambitious by all means, but don't be perfectionists. Okay. Try and be an excellent person. That's great. That's positive. Yeah, your personal development is very much stifled when we are controlled by what others think. And I need to ask myself, what do I value in this situation to the point of giving another person control of my life? Then always accept criticism. Never accept judgment. Okay? Be wise. Deal only with facts. Facts are anything that is observable, the fruit in another person's life. Okay? Never engage with the why, because that's judgment. It's justification, and that means we are also relating out of a world of excuses, right? When we're little, as children, when we do something wrong, we tend to get asked, why did you do that? And then if we can find a good enough answer, then we're excused, all right? However, a better question to ask is, what did you do and what should you have done? But we are actually raised and trained to make excuses and justify. Can I just ask you guys to check your mics? Somebody's mic is on. There's feedback. Thank you. Right. My judgment isn't that good. Okay? It really isn't. It's just my judgment. Quite flawed. I can't change society, but I can choose to live my own life free from judgments. That would be free from judgments of self-judgments, judgments from others that they might have of me, and the judgments I make. I don't need to make them. All right? There's such a thing called healthy confrontations. Those are meant to restore relationship. Never ever have a confrontation to punish, please. Criticism only hurts and angers people and makes them defensive. Right. Freedom from justification. Like I just said, we're trained to live a reactionary life and blame shift and all that kind of stuff and justify. People respond to what they are currently experiencing. Okay? People are always reacting out of their immediate reality. And an intrinsic part of that is self-justification. Okay? It wasn't me. It was him. I did it because. Yeah? Tend to be controlled by people around us means we draw our self-worth from them. Don't ever do that, because it isn't real. Don't draw your self-worth from people around you. It comes from a much bigger place. All right? We can be free from the world system. Okay? How I treat people has nothing to do with who I think they are, but with who I am. I don't look at people and decide how I'm going to treat them. No, I actually treat everybody the same. With respect, with affection, with patience, and all kinds of other things I'm working on. Okay? And it doesn't matter if you're a janitor or if you're my boss. It doesn't matter what culture you are, man, woman, age group, doesn't matter. I can treat everybody with respect, for example, because of who I am. All right? It's not, I don't treat people the way they deserve to be treated. I treat people the way I want to treat them because of who I am. Now, judgments of others are not the standard that determine me. Definitely not. I don't have to receive anybody's opinion of me. Again, not to be hard-asked, guys, but be realistic. Freedom from self-judgment, very important. Self-judgment is totally destructive. It's a killer. Yeah, we've got tons of self-talk going on in our heads all day long, and negative self-talk plus emotion writes destructively on our hearts. It actually mars and distorts our identity. Bad news, guys. Yeah. We don't actually see or know ourselves that well. Truth. Yeah. Our perception is always clouded by our own reality. So when we're in conflict, we tend to think there's all kinds of things wrong with the other person, and we are actually much further down the road, right? No. You know, there's actually, honestly, before I want to look at your faults, I need to clean up my own mess, because there is one, always. None of us are perfect. Sorry to burst your bubbles. Yeah, our sense of identity cannot come from our self-evaluation or validation. All right, it's not going to happen, because we don't even see ourselves quite for who we are. When in pain, we are emotionally blind, and we can see and interpret only through a veil of subjective distortion. Please don't make any decisions when you're actually in pain. They're going to be bad. Okay? Because emotional pain distorts everything around us. Also, please, trying to fix yourself can do as much damage as good, so be very careful. Extensive navel gazing is quite detrimental. Knowing my stuff, okay? You know what? I don't need to carry your pain. I have enough of my own, but I can be very compassionate of your situation and sympathetic. But I don't need to own your pain. It's yours, okay? Never do for others what they should do for themselves. People need to clean their own messes and deal with their own issues. It's not my job, not your job. Everyone for themselves, okay? We can always give good advice, but please don't come to the rescue, because you're actually disabling the other person if you do that. okay? And you're putting a burden on yourself that you can't possibly carry. Yeah, a lack of sense of self-worth makes us cross boundaries into other people's stuff. People that are rescuers tend to look for affirmation and validation by being this wonderful hero who comes to the rescue, Superman. You know, I'm not saying Superman was insecure, okay? Sorry. But you know what I'm saying, okay? So get your confidence and self-worth from other things, not by meddling in other people's lives. Yeah, we should all be able to say no and still feel good about ourselves instead of guilty. And yeah, it's actually quite okay to say no. And that's one thing I learned when I learned about the boundaries. I suddenly started saying, no, I'm sorry, I won't be able to do that, instead of saying yes to everything. And I actually got a lot more respect, and I didn't burn out. And I actually liked myself more. It was actually very interesting. Try it. Yeah. Everybody deal with your own stuff. Associations and judgments. Okay, these are, you all know what associations are, all right? So these are reminders and memories that subconsciously cause us to make connections with some present situation that we're in. Okay, when we meet another person, we should not allow subconscious judgments beyond what I know of a person to influence me. All right, hold nobody in suspicion for no reason. Okay, innocent until proven guilty. Association becomes a judgment the moment I say this is that. Okay, for example, when I was little, a dog bit me. It's not true, okay, it's just a scenario. A dog bit me. So dogs bite. Now, every time I'm around dogs, I don't want to go near them because dogs bite. Okay, that's not fair. Yeah, we could take it into the people scenario too, but we won't go there right now. Okay, the past does not equal the future. Just because I got bitten by a dog in the past doesn't mean that in the future I'm going to be bitten again, really. Okay, and what one person did, one dog did, should not be impugned to another. Okay, so just because one teacher was unfair doesn't mean all teachers are unfair, right? Information is always the key to conquering suspicion. If you're suspicious of a person, get information on them, from them. Yeah, that'll put that to rest or confirm it. Either way, you're better off. Okay, and then guys, it's a matter of semantics. Be very careful in your communications. We don't all define words the same way. For example, the word authority. Okay, some of you have visions of the army and da 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 da. Others think of parents. And anyway, before you enter into a conflict, make sure that you're actually on the same page regarding the topic that you're on. Because a lot of conflicts are caused because my definition for something is different from the person next to me. And we're actually not talking about the same thing. Clarify that first. A word for the clueless. Listen when your enemies criticize you. They tell you the truth your friends avoid. Sometimes our friends don't want to tell us something that they perceive to be unpleasant and hurtful for us. So they leave us be, making the same mistake and being unpleasant and obnoxious and everything else because they don't want to upset us. Then an enemy will tell us, okay? So listen, please. Yeah, listen to constructive criticism and feedback, okay? Listen to correction, grow in understanding. Doesn't mean you have to take it all in. I'm saying listen wisely, filter it, take the meat, spit out the bones, okay? But every criticism spoken for harm even can be turned to good. So even in the heat of the moment when somebody's really trying to hurt you, that criticism has a grain of truth in it. If you're big enough to actually accept that, it can actually be turned to good. Yeah? And then you're not going to go through life not understanding why people don't like you or why people respond to you in a certain way, because now some enemy told you, right? Pointing out at a fault. Listen, criticism always points at a fault. It means somebody outside of us is seeing something unpleasant in us. And there's never smoke without fire. Okay? So there's always a grain of truth somewhere. And then please also know that not every lesson is taught in love. Actually, most of them are not. But every person is a teacher, and every circumstance is our classroom. If you will choose to see it that way, you're going to grow very quickly and be very balanced and at peace. Okay, relationships that work. What I say doesn't mean what it means to me. It means what it means to you. Anything I say, I know what I mean, but you don't. You might be close, but even here right now, there's 20 people listening to me, and you're all going to have 20 different takes on what I'm saying. Okay. So what I say is always received individually through your personal filters and paradigms. Okay. Others don't really hear what I'm really saying. I'm communicating something, but what do you hear? Okay. I said already, relationships are the only thing of real value in our lives. Not the car, not the house, not the job, not the title. Yeah, the foundation for all growth and meaningful development is found in relationships only. Yeah. And relationships are built around communication, which is the giving and receiving of input. Guys, do yourselves a favor, learn good ways of communication, because even if you're the only one in the conflict who's got them, at least what the other person's doing wrong isn't going to affect you. Okay? Accept that our actions affect other people. We need to do that. We always affect everybody around us with what we say and what we do, and we need to take responsibility for that and maybe adapt in some areas. Okay? Caution, beware of manipulation. Do not allow people to manipulate you. It's a very sly and cunning thing, and it's very widespread. Put it on your radar. Yeah, truth is vital, guys, not flattery. Don't smear honey around people's mouth. It's really not helpful. Okay, always just be truthful and realistic. Yeah, then also please know that insecurity leads to defensiveness. So when people react to you defensively, you must know that they're actually insecure. Okay, and keep that in mind. Maybe change your tone of voice, or maybe start your conversation by saying something positive, building them up first before you get to the problem. Right? And then the wise learn by instruction, the slow learn by correction, the fool learns from consequences, the selfish never learn. Please don't waste your time trying to teach a selfish person. Excuse me while I eat my words. I think you know what I mean. Words create worlds, all right? What I say today, that's my reality of tomorrow. Okay? I'm sowing the seeds and they grow, and tomorrow there's the frame. Okay? Getting the control of our words is absolutely key to changing our world. And I'm not talking about changing Africa, changing our world. I'm talking about changing our world that we are actually experiencing in our personal bubble. Okay? You need to know your rules of communication, honoring the other person, boundaries, and all that kind of stuff. Okay? And I have a responsibility for the effect my words have on others. Okay? I can't say, oh, you're just touchy. No. Still, my words affected you. I'm responsible for that. And I have to own that and clean it up. Yeah? Always know what you say and mean it when you say it. Yeah? Think twice before you open your mouth. Always, and I'm not talking about class now, I'm talking about in general, right? Don't use words as a defense mechanism. It's detrimental. How many times have you been in a heated situation and you said, well, I don't care. And then people start treating you as if you don't care, and then you're not happy either. Don't say stuff like that. Never use sarcasm. Sarcasm really is the lowest form of wit. And don't use flippancy, because it actually just totally diminishes the other person and makes light of them. Yeah, gives it insignificance. And that's never going to be helpful. Yeah? And learn what to say, what you really mean. Okay? Be a little bit more thoughtful about opening your mouth. And in case you have to eat your words, make them sweet. Okay? We all have to eat our words at some point or another. Make them sweet tasting. It's easier to take something back that's not too offensive than something that's really horrible. Okay? Seriously, the issue can be the other person, but it can also be me. So you need to take a look at yourself. And it helps if you take a look at yourself first before you bring something forward. Because sometimes we are making an issue that can be avoided if we just recognize that, hey, actually, that was me. Okay? And then accept the consequences of your words. You must take responsibility. Confession's great. Okay? So if you've done something wrong, I used to say to my son growing up, Marcos, I don't care what you do, but don't lie to me. If you tell me the truth, you're not going to get into trouble. And that actually worked quite well. And he did some really nasty things. Obviously, he was a normal teenager. Actually, he was a really, really hardcore teenager for about 2 years. But it's okay. So he did stuff that normally people would ground you and all that kind of stuff. I didn't, because as long as he confessed it to me, the offense was gone and there was peace restored. And okay, try not to do that again. Okay. So if it basically, when you understand that you've done something wrong, go and confess it, because it actually frees your guilty heart. It's like a load off your shoulder if you do. Yeah. It also alleviates your fear of judgment, your fear of being caught and getting into trouble. So again, it takes a load off your shoulder. Actually, also, like in my case with Marcus, if the sentencing would have been quite severe, like grounding or whatever else, it's a lot more lenient if you've confessed. Even in the bigger world, yeah, if a person confesses to a crime that they've committed, they actually get a diminished sentence. If people have to hunt them down and convict them and all that kind of stuff, they get the full sentence. Okay. And also, once we've actually admitted something, people will stop trying to convict us and make us come out into the open, which creates more peace. And our only hope for mercy is actually honesty. Okay. And it's just an attempt to escape. Okay, we as people, this is the way we're designed. The human being always is trying to escape pain and to find pleasure. It's who we are. But that, unfortunately, leads us to sometimes violate other people. Okay? Because we're seeking pleasure and we don't want to have pain. So we do step on people sometimes, right? And the denial of this only produces a lifetime of internal pain. So rather just admit it to yourself and to the other person. Apologize. It takes a big person, a real man, to apologize, and a real woman. Okay? What we do then is we live behind masks. We actually lie about our faults and our failures. You need to know yourself and take off your mask. Be honest with yourselves. Okay? Finding the real you. Everyone lives out of their own self-perception. We all need to change our self-perception, not the circumstances or surroundings. Because when we change our self-perception, it's like a domino effect, like an avalanche. It just, everything around us aligns itself with what's changed in our hearts. Okay? The external is only a reflection of the internal, right? So people who are like total slobs in the way they dress and stuff and are dirty, it's usually because they've got no self-respect and they've got low self-esteem. Yeah? But on the other hand, be known for who you are and not how you look, right? So don't think you know me just because I wear some makeup and do my hair and wear nice clothes, okay, and paint my nails. Yeah, that it does show my self-respect, but it's actually not who I am. There's much more to me. Okay. Now, character versus performance-based identity, guys. Character is important. Performance. I don't draw my identity from performance anymore. I used to, but it's actually really not very useful. So when I used to get 70%, my dad would say, "Where's the other 30?" And I'd say, "Well, the average was 40, and I have the highest mark." He'd say, "Still not good enough." If I got 96% for another test, he'd say, "It doesn't have to be that good." That's very confusing. So where does that leave me? Okay, it's all about character. Don't get your identity from externals. Your car, your house, your social standing, your education, that's not your identity. Okay? We are living in a prison of self-centeredness, and that's actually the ultimate bondage, and that's living for self. Don't live for yourself. It's really, really not a good life. You're not going to be happy, and neither is anybody around you. All right? But people are afraid to find something hideous on the inside, so they don't look on the inside. And trust me, it's not hideous. Okay? Freedom from the past. We are never free to pursue our future until we're free from the past. Okay? Trying to forget stuff. You've got these tormenting vexations, things that haunt you. All right? You can actually stop that. And also, there's no way to avoid offenses. They'll keep coming at you every day. But just know that whatever you focus on will grow. Anything you focus our attention on is made larger in our experience. So the little molehill becomes a proverbial mountain. Okay? We end up magnifying the insignificant, and we're allowed to control our life. Boom. Problem. And I said already, we become what we behold. So if we've just magnified this little molehill into a mountain, you can just imagine that journey. Okay? We don't stop doing something we are constantly thinking about. If you're trying to stop doing something, first step, stop thinking about it. Because if your focus is on stopping something and you focus on it the whole time, you're going to keep doing it. Okay? There's other mechanisms to stop doing things, right? Also, please know that we never remember anything the way it really happened. We remember how it made us feel, which is why it's very possible that my husband and I can go to the same event, and when we tell you about it afterwards, it seems like we were at totally different events. Okay, simply because he experienced it differently from me. Okay, life without limits. Our self-judgments have set limitations and boundaries on our lives. It's our own judgments, guys. It's not anybody around us. It's what we've decided. Okay? And our own self-judgments disqualify us. Okay? Because we're the only ones who can write on our hearts. Yeah? We've got to release all judgments, drop them, and then the past can no longer control you. You're free to have a future. Okay? We're basically blinded by the walls of limitations we have built, and every cell in our body works towards bringing about our self-perception. Guys, you've all heard of people winning the lottery and being multi-millionaires, and 5 years later they're as poor as they were when they won it in the first place. Why? Because they have a certain self-judgment. They don't have a wealth mindset. They have a poverty mindset, and therefore they will return to poverty. Doesn't matter how many millions they had. Okay? Same thing, other people who build up businesses, but they never get to a point where they're earning more than a certain ceiling. They always hit that ceiling. Every time when it looks like they're going to get more, they fall ill, the car breaks, the house burns down, whatever, and they have unforeseen expenses, and then never, it's because everything in your body works towards maintaining your belief system about you. Okay? So we make every decision on our life based on our self-worth. Okay? Now, when I need to fix you, I have rejected you. I need to deal with me before I attempt to deal with you. People hurt those who believe in them and are closest to them. Okay, so please don't be surprised when the person you love the most and live with is actually uglier to you than they are to anyone else in the world. It's because they actually feel safe. It's a compliment. Yeah, our judgments make it impossible to hear what a person's really communicating because it's filtering it. When people feel we're trying to fix them, they actually feel rejected and controlled. I'm not acceptable the way I am. I have to change before you accept me. Okay, what's my motive? Why am I telling somebody something? Make sure it's a pure motive, not a selfish one to serve you. Yeah, see the wrong and still find the good. Guys, the glass is always half full. Okay, and if anything will work, love will. If love will not work, nothing will. Love can be explained, cannot be explained. It can only be experienced. Okay, love is a dimension, right? And as we give love, we become able to receive love. Starts with us doing the right things, guys. So bottom line, live and let live. Everybody has their own reality. Everybody's reality is equally valid. Respect everyone's reality. It's not up to you to judge it right or wrong. Okay, because to them it's right, just like yours is right to you. It's not about you, and it's not about me. It's much bigger than that. And have a healthy self-esteem, self-sense, okay? Self-worth, self-value. Okay. Thank you for listening. Attitude determines altitude. This is the meat on the skeleton I gave you last week with the previous presentation. Again, I was inspired to do this by a book written by Dr. James Richards called Wired for Success and Programmed for Failure. And it should give you a really good insight into the way of thinking that actually makes you a successful person and why you actually, each one of you is wired to be that. And I recommend you guys at some point actually pick up the book and read it. It is phenomenal. It's so helpful. Okay, so I picked up something in LinkedIn again. The same boiling water that softens the potato hardens the egg. It's about what you're made of, not the circumstance. Same guy that I quoted last week, Rakshit Magan. Last week I said that 10% of your life is what happens to you, and 90% of your life's journey is actually how you interact with it. So everything has to do with what are you going to do? What are you going to believe? Who are you? All right? So let's get going. Success is relative and personal. Yeah, the principles of success are immutable. It's a law. It just won't change. You know, it's like generosity begets generosity. The Raymond Ackerman decided at some point to support charities, to give 10%, and he's the guy who owns Pick and Pay. Okay, and he decided at some stage he's going to give 10% of his profits to charities, and next thing his business took off and grew and grew and grew. It's a spiritual principle that is immutable, and the same thing happens with the principles of success. They are immutable. They cannot change. They are real. Yeah, the only personal variables can change your journey, but not the destination. So who you are determines your journey there, but the destination should be the same for all of you, all of us. Okay, and everyone faces their ego when confronting the confines of their life. If you're finding yourself in a position where things aren't working out the way you wish or dream or desire, when you actually have to confront it, you're facing your own ego. Okay, and your ego doesn't like that. Settling and accepting the circumstances is a coping mechanism that frees people from the stress of their situation. Generally, we get very stressed when we're not happy, when not achieving what we want to achieve. But if we just say, okay, we'll accept it and we settle for it, the only thing we're removing is the stress. Okay? The need to change initiates a defense mechanism in us to protect our ego by proving that we're right. Yeah, so we tend to justify the situation and make excuses so that our ego can justify itself, and then we don't change. Okay, we don't like change. Okay, and we don't like to confront our egos. It is never the external sources that determine the ceiling of our success. It's always how we have been programmed. Okay, it's actually not outside of us that determines whether we succeed or fail. It's what's inside of us. Okay, it's what we've been led to believe by the influences around us. One example, everybody says success is hard. It's only for the select few who work hard at it. That's not true. That is like the biggest lot of hogwash ever. Success is there for everyone. Okay, and it's not actually hard because we are driven. It's an internal thing in us that we want to avoid pain, like I said last week, and we run towards pleasure. Success is pleasurable. We are naturally drawn to it. Okay, so anybody who says success is hard is saying, oh no, it's painful, and then we don't want to go there. Very manipulative. I'm sure you can follow. The willingness to find what you lack is something you need to have. You need to be willing to figure out what you haven't got, and then also even be prepared to give up something that you have to find something better. Yeah? Be daring. All right. Lack is an illusionary prison fortified by the imaginary bars of our belief. Again, this is something that we're taught as we're growing up, that there's not enough to go around. Not enough money, not enough natural resources, not enough oxygen, not enough of anything. It's actually a lie as well. There actually is enough to go around. Lack is an illusion, and it actually is a prison, because if we believe there isn't enough, we operate from certain paradigms that keep us there. And failure and lack go against every inherent instinct that we have. We are not designed to fail or have lack in our lives. Yeah? We are controlled by the beliefs, the subconscious programming in our hearts that we established by the time we were 12 years old. So they're not actually relevant to being adults. And these direct our life. They control our capacity of understanding and perception. Okay, we filter everything happening around us through our heart beliefs. Our beliefs become our choices. Okay, we hold ourselves to the level that we believe we deserve in every area of life. It's a fact. If we have a certain picture, like we're middle class, for example, we will keep ourselves there. We really will. Even if intellectually we don't want to stay there, we will be there. Yeah, we see what confirms our beliefs no matter what the reality is. Last week I mentioned the gatekeeper on our brain that doesn't allow in any information that contradicts our opinions and belief system. It only allows in stuff that validates what we believe. Okay, so we need to change the quality of our life by actually changing our beliefs in our heart. Yeah, redefining success. Okay, success is a very subjective concept. It's very personal and individual. And here we're talking semantics as well. How do you define it? What does that word mean? Okay. And what would you say makes you successful? When will you say you are actually being successful? Is it when you have a lot of money? Is it when you're married and have lots of kids? Is it when you're living overseas? Is when you have your own business? It's very subjective. Okay. But our definition, each one of our definition actually predetermines our destination. So if I set the bar very low for success, that is my destination. If I set it very high, that will be my destination. Okay, my definition actually determines where I end up. Yeah, and quality of life is chosen subconsciously by default because of our heart beliefs, and we will get there whatever route we take. Beliefs are our thermostat. They maintain the balance and keep us level, and we cannot move from our core beliefs. Okay, and that's how you find that people who've won the lottery 5 years later are as poor as they were before they won the lottery, because we always return to the level that we believe we belong. Okay. Well, most people win the lottery, not all. Yeah, and this is a seemingly irresolvable conflict between what we intellectually desire and what we subconsciously are guided to. Okay, so subconsciously, that comes from our heart beliefs. Even though intellectually we want bigger, whatever, faster, yeah, our heart values will always keep us back. There's always a conflict. That's why we need to fix those. Yeah, so we'll be on a new course because we've set ourselves new goals, but we'll have the same destination. We'll always end up exactly where we believe deep down inside we should be. Our core beliefs are, like I said, formed by the age 5. Our life paradigm is established. We're in our alpha state. Okay, no rational thought involved and no logic, because we don't understand anything anyway at that age. So before we are old enough to think that we have forged our sense of self, which in turn determines our life experiences, we have established our paradigms and our heart beliefs. These are forged by the circumstances, by our self-talk, by repetition, emotional experiences, things that happen externally around us and affect us. Yeah, so the substructure of our subconscious thoughts and feelings is established. Okay, this is our default setting. It requires no effort. Whenever we're not busy with anything else, that's where we automatically go. Right? And then we have that gatekeeper. Yeah, it blocks all information that does not confirm our paradigm, and just so that we actually never have to question what we accept as true. So what I accept as true, for example, say I did believe that success is hard. If I believe that to be true, I'm not going to allow any information in that challenges that, and then I never have to challenge that. I can just be happy. Okay. What you need to do, we all need to examine our beliefs. Yeah. Excuses only make us feel comfortable staying where we are. Anyone can make excuses for staying, yeah, but that's just going to keep you there. Yeah, our opportunities will always grow as the heart grows. As we renew our sense of self, our opportunities suddenly start popping up in front of us, and our journey begins into greater realms. Okay, and I'm talking about holistic success here. It's an overall quality of life. I'm not talking about I'll be successful when I own my own business. That's not holistic. That's just one aspect of you. There's much more to you. Yeah, so we're talking the overall quality of life, every area of your life. So there's a difference between goal and state. Having success as a goal requires a heck of a lot of effort, because you're always working to achieve something. If you are a successful person, if that is the state that you're in because you believe it about yourself, then it's a state of being. And a healthy being leads to healthy doing, because what's in our heart always determines our behavior and our choices and our decisions in life. Okay? Being works from the inside out. It's who I am. State just is continued labor to sustain your identity. It's hard work. Okay? Doing works from the outside in, and it temporarily will stimulate your 5 senses. What makes you feel successful today won't surface tomorrow. So today you might have achieved something, and tomorrow morning you wake up and you think, oh, where's the next thing? Yeah, you'll have to stretch yourself even further. Success as a goal also makes it a compartmentalized thing. It actually leads to a very schizophrenic lifestyle, because you're constantly working on one thing at a time, and then everything else around you falls apart. And then because you neglect everything else, because you're prioritizing your goal, So for example, a good example is, your workaholic father, for example. His goal is to provide for his family and make them the people that everybody wants to keep up with, And in the meantime, he becomes a workaholic. He actually neglects his family. And when he's achieved the money, is there, the cars are there, the house is there, he hasn't got a family. The wife walked out, the kids don't want to speak to him again. Yeah, that's prioritizing and neglecting. Okay, not good, not healthy. Yeah, holistic success, however, comes from a healthy identity. It's a success that emerges from our sense of self that will never violate our valued parts of life. So we'll actually always balance all the parts and keep them all nurtured. Money. Okay, so what expectation do you project onto it? People say money makes the world go round. Maybe. Why do you want it? Do you want it so that you can have the greatest, latest cell phone, house, car, and upgrade every time the new model comes out? Or do you want it for, what do you want it for? Yeah. How do you use it? Do you just use it on yourself for things, or do you actually use it to enjoy life with? What do you believe about it? Do you believe that it's good, that it's evil, that it's essential, that it's, the only thing to make you happy? Or, ask yourself that. It's in your worksheet. If money, however, is your measurement of success, and unfortunately that is a world standard, it's in our culture, the more of it you have, the more problems you will have. Okay? Having money, apart from a healthy sense of self-worth, only magnifies your flaws. And I have an example here. There's two men. The one is a very good entrepreneur, a visionary. He's got great network and everything else. He gets a project, potentially absolutely amazing project. He partners with a guy who's got money. Now the guy with the money starts to manage this project and runs with it and does whatever he wants with it. But he's not making wise decisions. He's not using the counsel of the other person who actually has the wisdom to make the project work. He's got the money. He's in control, and he destroys the project. Okay, I've just seen this happen, and this happens all the time. So if you have money without the character to actually carry it off, your flaws will destroy what you're doing with your money. Yeah. Often we are told that we need to have money as a proof of success. But then please know, if that's the case, you're neglecting everything else in your life in the pursuit of it. Yeah. If you have no sense of self, you're always in survival mode. Remember, fight or flight mode, cortisol, and those things that actually paralyze your brain in certain places, so that all you can do is basically physically defend your life. This is when your mind will harden your heart. Your survival of the ego is the one thing that's now important. It's the epitome of living for self, and it brings out the worst in people. And they'll always be in denial and justification. Okay? So you need to have a healthy sense of self. Okay? Your identity is the window through which we interpret the entire world and perspective from which all decisions are made. Yeah? So who I believe I am determines how I interpret the whole world around me and what decisions I make. You need to ask yourselves, guys, who do you want to be? Not who do your parents want you to be, not who, whatever. Who do you want to be? Okay? If your primary goal is to survive, you will never thrive. You will just survive. Okay? If your primary goal is to nurture yourselves, then you will survive and thrive. Okay? A world of abundance, which is actually what we live in. Okay? Abundance hinges on our capacity to see opportunity where others see disaster. Remember, the glass can be half full or half empty. Yeah, it's in your perspective. Feelings of lack are something that I think we all have, because it depends on how you were raised. It's projection of self, of a sense of self onto the world around you. Yeah, we get told in the media and by the politicians. Yeah, we are influenced all the way. And you must know that bad news and crises are very attractive to us, because they put us into a stressed state of mind. And when we are highly stressed, we are highly suggestible. All right. Somebody once decided that they were tired of all these bad news, and they brought out a newspaper that only printed good news. That thing didn't survive for 3 months. Nobody bought